However difficult the moment,
Yes, sir.
however frustrating the hour, it will not be long because truth crushed earth will rise again.
Yes, sir.
How long? Not long.
Yes, sir.
Because no lie can live forever.
Yes, sir.
How long? Not long.
How long?
Because you shall reap what you sow.
Yes, sir.
How long? Not long.
How long?
Truth forever on the scaffold, wrong forever on the throne.
Yes, sir.
Yet that scaffold sways the future.
Yes.
Behind the dim unknown standeth God within the shadow, keeping watch above his own. How long? Not long. Because the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends toward justice.
Yes, sir.
How long? Not long.
Not long.
Because mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord.
Yes, sir.
He's trampling out the vintage where the grapes of wrath are stored.
Yes, sir.
He's loosed the fateful lightning of his terrible swift sword.
Yes, sir.
His truth is marching on.
Yes, sir.
He has sounded forth the trumpet that shall never call retreat. He is sifting out the hearts of men before his judgment seat. Oh, be swift, my soul, to answer him. Be jubilant, my feet. Our God is marching on. Glory, hallelujah. Glory, hallelujah. Glory, hallelujah. Glory, hallelujah. His truth is marching on.
Good morning, peace and love. Welcome to the Peace of the Morning Show.
Peace in the morning.
That's right,
show.
peace in the morning, baby. Come on, say it with me.
morning.
1, 2, 3. Peace in the morning.
Show.
That's right, with Darius A. Stanton and the incomparable, beautiful, isn't she? Lovely, the queen.
And y'all can see him massaging my feet on the show if you want to.
Hey, watch out now. Hey, look.
Family affair.
That's right, that's right. So look, join us at 240-719-2560. That's 240-719-2560. Happy MLK weekend, brothers and sisters. Listen, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, do you know that your father, William H. Lamb Johnson Jr., the William H. Lamb Johnson, what's up, Granddaddy? William H. Lamb Johnson Jr. actually took me on a bus trip to Harlem. Now, when he took me to this trip with Harlem, it was with a men's choir. It was in Harlem. No, it was in Harlem, straight up Harlem. As a matter of fact, Ron, when we got to the church was barbed wired all around to get into the church grounds. And then when we finally got up on the grounds and they started, you know how before church started to have testimony? The people started testifying. They said, thank you, Lord, for bringing me here because Brother John didn't make it because he got robbed on the way to church. They said, the other sister said, thank you, Lord. I'm so glad for being able to get me here because yesterday our whole project got held up. I said, Lord, this is rough cut city right here. But I also had another great experience traveling with those men, those great men of Asbury United Methodist Church Choir. You know, it was something powerful when those men came down the aisle. You could hear them before they when the doors opened. They were out in the hallway. And then the door was open. That would be before they even came down the aisle.
Yes.
They would rock the hallway. You wouldn't even see them. You just feel them. Well, do you know, back in I would say somewhere between 1974 and 1978, Dr. Martin Luther King Sr., Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Sr. came to Annapolis, Maryland, and preached at Asbury United Methodist Church, and we met him up at the hotel where he was staying, at Maryland Inn, and he sat me on his lap and talked to me. I don't remember what he said, but my point being, that was my historical moment with the King family, you know, and you know, the power in it is the fact that he trained his son. They trained their son. He went to school. He graduated from college at 16.
Yeah.
So that means that he was already trained at home before he even went to high school, college, grade school. He got what he needed at home.
At home.
And so that's what we want to push out to you today on Funky Friday. We want to start with, it starts at home, working with your young people. So this weekend, when we're working and focused on King's Holiday, prepare your children.
Incredible enough. It does start at home. And even my father stayed in Atlanta with the Martin Luther King and his family on a trip that they took. He spoke very highly of Dr. King. However, Dr. King was just a part of everybody's lifestyle. He wasn't just a part of our life. He was a part of lives across America and across the world. And what I really appreciate about what you're saying, Darius, is the fact that you can remember. You harness this information. You remembered it because it was significant. It was significant to you because it was my father. It was a divine and righteous ancestor. And it was a man who impacted my father's life among millions of other people's lives. And whom my father held many of his principles to form in our everyday lives, which is how I am the way I am, mimicking my dad every step of the way, and my mother. And you're the way you are because I believed in homeschooling. And same with Messiah and his father. We believed in homeschooling. Keeping the child with you and showing them the way versus just telling them the way. Now, I wanted to just run through something quickly that Marcus Garvey would say around now. You great gods and goddesses, you. When slaves were hauled across the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans, when millions were treated with evil and not allowed emotions, when all over Europe our blood was shed, when over so much land and water we were left for dead, while along the Caribbeans and all over the United States, our bodies were thrown off of ships and records of our being erased, when our babies were torn from their mothers' bellies, when you killed me because you could not sell me. We were sick and you fed us bile. And when we suffered, you stole our child. And when we were slaughtered, others sung. We were trampled over, and then we were hung. We experienced every kind of horrible act, And if you don't believe it, then you better get the black facts. Yes, these are horror stories, and telling them, no one is best. The master called it glory, but no one called it stress. No one took us to the doctors or to the hospital for examinations. Then they prescribed medicine for us, or our abuse? No. Or our god doggone damnation? No. And what about our abuse and our state of mind? They bore holes in our rectum and tore open our behinds. Great gods and goddesses, you today, see your power. Wake up and see your power. That's what Martin Luther King instilled in us. Wake up and see your power. When he said, I had a dream, he had a vision that one day people would actually see the power of being human. Not what somebody said being human is by definition, but being human by all accountability of being human. All accountability of being human. Not based on what someone has predefined in your life, what you should do, but what you were born innately to do. And how you go about doing it. Not by being a bully, not by raising your voice loud, but being firm. Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King was firm, and that's why I speak of Marcus Messiah Garvey in the same note. Firm men who stood for the very cell they came from. Their birth was profound, and they left us with something that can feed us every single day, every moment in a day of our lives eternally, if we choose it.
All you have to do is look on the inside, because on the inside we have all the power that we need to be who we are. The I am, to exist, to create and manifest those things that we, as Dr. King talked about, dream, that we vision, and we see, and then we speak into existence. And so on this Funky Friday, we want to encourage people to take those core values that Dr. King promoted, which his family started, by educating him at home, by teaching him his manners at home,
Yes.
by teaching him how to treat people at home, by teaching him human kindness and respect and gratitude at home, how to articulate at home, how to read at home, how to write at home, how to serve at home, how to be hospitable at home. All of these things, how to have compassion for others, for those who have less or in a much more difficult or disadvantaged circumstances than yourself, for those who were disabled or have some other disability that would prevent them from being as functional in one manner than someone else is. Being mindful of your environment.
Exactly.
And so as a result of that, that was the first thing. The next lesson that I believe he taught us, we don't talk often about what really changed things in terms of the civil rights movement. But one of the things that really impacted and changed the civil rights movement, yes, it was the marches. Yes, it was the sit-ins. But most importantly, it was the economic impact when we withheld our dollar, when we withheld our feet from going into establishments and not doing things that moved the economy forward, then people picked up the phone and said, hey, you better send some people down there and do something about that. And no matter how racist, how bigoted, how UGLY people behaved and treated us, those powers to be came to their knees when it came to the numbers and when it came to the money, when it came to the economics, because we live in a capitalistic society. If we lived in a society that was not based on the dollar bill or money, then whether we spent or not would not make a difference. But it makes all the difference. And so we want us to be very mindful about where we spend our dollars. So for example, there's been a commercial put out there, an ad that was placed by H&M, the retailer, which happens to be the second largest retailer in the world. On one page, there was a young black boy who had, "I'm the coolest of the jungle, coolest monkey in the jungle." On the next page, it had a young white boy who said, "I survived the jungle." The imagery is clear. Monkey survivor, period. Anybody who does advertising, they do homework, they do research, they study before they go through a great deal of length. They spend a whole lot of money to ad companies to make ads and place commercials. $1 million is what they pay to view it on television during the Super Bowl commercials or more. So you can understand how much money goes into the ad agencies that are actually putting these ads together. Now, that's one company. So do we go to H&M and spend our dollars? No. But who do we support? Marshalls and TJ Maxx. Why? Because as of today, still after the storm, they have 20 stores in Puerto Rico that were not able to open after the hurricane. And guess what? They have continued to pay their employees from the time the hurricane hit up until now. So people can still feed their families. They can still have transportation. They can start to fix up and set themselves up in terms of reconstructing their homes and the things that they lost. They have something to work with, regardless of whether FEMA or somebody else, some other aid comes to the table. Their employer that was taking money from their community is now putting money back into that community from their profits to make sure that their employees have a wage to work with to maintain their status and to get them back on. Bless you. Ooh, the powers is in the blood. So
yeah, I wanted to just jump on and say, the man who owns Zatania's restaurant downtown on 9th and what is that, 8th Street or 9th and somewhere in that area, also is in Mexico doing wonderful things after the storm. So yes, when you find people, companies, businesses that collaborate for the welfare, the benefit of somebody else, knowing that they may lose a few dollars, down the end they're going to win because they have kept morale. When you keep morale, you can have 3 months without paying them and they'll work gladly because they remember when you had the money, what you did with it. People don't forget. That's what makes America great. When people start coming together, doing great things together, unselfishly.
So check this out. Speaking of that, we have to address the fact that we're going to give you a bunch of MLK events that are taking place over the weekend. Some will actually be broadcasting live and they're very engaged and in part of throughout the region. But we're also going to have to talk about what just came out. That is no secret. The policy in America has supported this all along. President Donald Trump reportedly just so happened to talk about it. Now, you know we don't talk about Trump much here, but this one I think is perfect in terms of timing to address, and that is where he actually said those SHI blank, 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 blank nations, Haiti and Africa, they're not even worthy of coming. Why are we even talking about them in terms of immigration? Called them a very derogatory name. But guess what? That's how it's been treated. The policy of America, president after president, has been the same way. We talked to African students who told us how hard it is for them to get not only a visa, but a work visa in the country to work. When all summer long in the beaches and beach towns all up and down the East Coast and the West Coast, companies bring folks from Europe, Asia, and others to work in the hotels. It's so easy for European nations to be able to come in and get work visas when African nations and nations of people of color come to the table, come to America. They have, after they finish school, after they finish paying to go to school, they have to go back home because they can't, even if they get a job, because they can't get the work visa to stay and work and contribute to society. So this has been happening under Obama's administration, Bush's administration, Clinton's administration. The difference is Trump said what has been happening the entire. He matched the rhetoric with the policy. So how do we deal with that? What do we do? You know, on the Peace of the Morning show, we don't just talk about it. We give you solutions. So when we come back, we're going to get to a jam session. You're going to see us funk it up. Get busy. Get ready, Queen. Because it's Funky Friday, baby. You know it's MLK weekend. We're going to funk it up for Dr. King and all of you on the Peace in the Morning show. So when we come back here live, www.peaceinthemorning show with Darius A. Stanton. We will be right back with you at voxwave.com. Peace in the Morning. We'll see you in a moment as we funk it up with Funky Friday, baby.
People getting down at the go-go. Shake a tambourine, go and get yourself a whistle and blow. Get it. Shake a tambourine and blow. Any kind of whistle, let's blow. Suck it to your biscuit and blow. Got a good diploma from a hippie school, y'all. Got a good religion, don't alright.
Doing it for MLK.
Come on.
Real confident, live today. Y'all know what time it is. You know that's my boys. Hey, we're gonna take it all the way back to the original Go-Go Baby. Oh yeah, Bubbles, Funk Express, baby. Yes indeedy, live on the Peace in the Morning Show. Hey, you wanna check us out? Stay tuned. We got a big announcement at the end of the show. That's right, we're taking it all the way from the East Coast to the West Coast. From the East Coast to the West Coast. Come on, crank it up. Funky Friday, baby.
Follow Funk Express.
Ow.
Follow Funk Express.
Funky Friday.
Follow Funk Express. Follow Funk Express.
That's right. Ow. Little funk. That old people funk. Ow. Yeah, Lord. Yeah, Lord, jumping. Oh, that's that jumping. That's that African beat in it. Get it, get it. Go ahead now. Go ahead, quick. Right here on the Peace in the Morning Show. We'll be right with you. When we come back, we can talk about strong stump. We can go to the next level for the bump. Here we go. Hey, brother, brother Brown, what's up, brother? We love you. Yeah. Right back to the Peace in the Morning Show.
Hey! Ho! Hey! Ho! Hey! Ho! Don't touch that stereo. Don't touch that stereo. You don't touch that stereo. Hello, hello. You don't touch that stereo. You don't touch that stereo. Hey, if you're on the phone, you wanna go. Don't touch that stereo. Say what?
Say what?
You don't touch that stereo. Don't touch that stereo. A little bit louder. We gonna make your body move, baby. That's right.
How that might sound, bro?
I'll drink Regina. She so looks good to me. Yeah. It's loud. It's loud. I'm gonna tell. Oh, work that sucker to death. Sucker to death. Work that sucker to death. Sucker to death. Work that sucker to death. Sucker to death. Work that sucker. Work that sucker. Work that sucker to death. Sucker to death. Work that sucker to death. Sucker to death. Work that sucker to death. Work it. Hey you! You don't touch that stereo. 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 Hey, you don't touch that stereo. Hey, Mr. DJ.
Tonight, in the Nashville Snow, actually it's in Bernie, it's a celebration of MLK them.
All drop the ball now. All drop the ball now. Better drop the ball. Give me drop the ball. All drop the ball, y'all. Better drop the ball. Give me drop the ball. Better drop the ball. Give me drop the ball, y'all. All drop the ball. That's it. Give me drop the ball on the white boy crew.
Funky Friday, Funky Friday.
Give me drop the ball on the white boy crew.
Funky Friday, Funky Friday.
Give me drop the ball on the freak crew.
Funky Friday, Funky Friday.
Give me drop the ball on the second quarter crew, y'all.
Funky Friday, Funky Friday.
Give me drop the ball on the super quick crew.
Funky Friday, Funky Friday.
Now super quick crew, now what you gonna do?
Funky Friday, Funky Friday.
Give me drop the ball on the bird's eye crew.
Funky Friday, Funky Friday.
On bird's eye crew, now what you gonna do? Drop the ball, drop the ball.
That's right, it's Funky Friday, baby. Peace in the morning show. Darius live, right there. Come to that. Come on.
Drop the ball. Y'all still with us out there?
In the crowd.
Y'all still with us?
Doing the Funky Friday MLK party. Kick off the holiday. This coming Sunday. Fearless Rim. Naples, Maryland. In the crowd. That's right.
All right, we forgot you, big brother.
Fearless Rim
Listen
crowd.
here. Drop the ball on the
MLK
bird's eye
holiday celebration. Fearless
Give
Rim.
me drop the ball on the bump ball crew. Drop the ball. Give me drop the ball on the BL crew. Drop the ball.
All right. Hey,
That BL
when you
crew,
come back,
now what you
we'll
gonna
have
do?
that holistic section here on the family lifestyle. But not a
On the
two
southeast crew.
Jump on that drum station. When you come back on the beat in the morning show.
Oh yeah, Trouble Funk's back on the grind. 35 years in the business, still getting it in with G.O. to the M.Y. right in center. You ready? I've been around the land from London to Japan, and I understand the reason for it.
Now rapping basketball, number one, Curtis Blow. Basketball is my favorite sport. I like the way they dribble up and down the court, just like I'm the king on the microphone. So it's Dr. J and Moses Malone. I like slam dunks, taking it to the hoop. My favorite play is the alley-oop. I like the pick and roll, I like the give and go, 'cause it's basketball of Mr. Curtis Blow.
All right. Just filling your mics. Yes, indeed. Peace and love. Welcome back to the Peace of the Morning Show. This is Darius A. Stanton on Funky Friday with the Queen herself. What's up, Queen? I see the back. Queen to the world.
Life is up, everyone. Take it for what it's worth. Don't take it for granted.
No doubt. And our good brother, Delegate Darrell Barnes, is in session right now in Annapolis, Maryland. He's on the floor. And actually, Delegate Barnes is a member of the state legislature. And the state legislature at this very moment has a hearing taking place with the Prince George's County Caucus here in Maryland. And they are actually interviewing the superintendent of schools here in Prince George's County, Dr. Maxwell. And it's around a scandal dealing with cheating and fixing grades and those types of things to boost the graduation rate and the numbers and the academic standings here in Prince George's County. An investigation took place. They found that there were no major findings when the State Board of Education did the investigation. But we know that the school system has been, to say troubled would be an understatement, over the past 4 years at least. And so you have to ask yourself some key questions when you talk about leadership and what we're going to do in Prince George's County, Maryland, and the state of Maryland. Who would you really want to lead Prince George's County? Who would you really want to lead the state of Maryland? I would think that it would be somebody who has a handle on how we should be building our education and academic settings in the school, at home, in our communities, at the college level, then the whole 9 yards. All right? So when you start to make your selection for county executive coming up in 2018, when you start to make your selection for governor in 2018, make sure they have a strong educational record and background in making sure that all children have an opportunity to work and reach their full potential as a result of the programs put in place. But before we went to the break and got funky with it,
Oh, yeah, what's up, brother?
you know, when we got funky on a Funky Friday,
Funky Friday.
you went to the Watusi on me too, didn't you?
Yeah.
That's right, that's right. So check it out. President Trump was reported by the Washington Post that during a staff meeting, they were talking about immigration reform. And he basically made the statement, you know, we focus on asset base so we don't curse. But he said those SHI blank, blank, blank head nations like Haiti and those African countries, why should we even be worried about letting them in the country and stay?
While they take so many billions of dollars a year in resources, in minerals, in land, in food products, in things that make your cell phones, cobalt, coltan,
Oil.
I mean, diamonds, gold, is land to fertilize. The speech that he made is typical, so I don't want to entertain him. I want to take it to the next level and say what we should be doing.
What should we do about that, locally and
What
nationally?
should we do about all racism? You said it loud and clear. But I don't know what is it really going to take for people to come together and recognize the importance of holding on to your dollar.
Come on.
Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King made it known that if you don't want us sitting on the bus and you refuse to give us a ride on the bus, and then when we do finally get on the bus, you put us in the back of the bus, and if we're seated in the back of the bus and there's no more room for a European, a white person, Caucasian, however you call it, to sit down on the bus, then that black person must get up. Or if that black person just happened to be sitting in a seat that a white person favored, they would be forced to move. However, when the bus freeze, I call it, the boycott, when the boycott came and people walked to get where they had to go.
They made a sacrifice.
They carpooled to get where they had to go.
They left early.
Some people lost their jobs, yes, and others came in to the fold and helped buy the groceries, pay the rent, pay the note, pay the taxes, get the food, get the glasses the child needed. I mean, we work together as a people. That is all that has to happen today. The food, is it the food only that has you so our people dilapidated in the mind that we cannot work together, that we don't see the need to push each other, to support each other, to love and nurture each other? Is there a problem with that? Because that's where we are. This is what has to happen for us as a people, to hold our dollars. If all of the masses of musicians, musical artists, from Jay-Z to Beyonce, to all of the rap artists, the hip-hop artists, to all of the reggae major artists,
All the country artists.
all the country and western artists, just say, you know what? This year, I don't want to do any concerts until you change the laws that affect oil drilling on Indian land and places that we need to preserve so we can have water and fresh air and food to eat. That we're not going to perform in any of your states until you sign a law that allows people to get equal treatment in health care because of the disparity as a result of race. discrimination, racial discrimination.
So let me ask this. What can people who are home watching the show or at work watching the show right now, what can they do? What can they do to impact the powers that be, the government officials who are, and the industries that are taking
It's quite
us
simple.
for granted?
It's quite simple. It's not even a science project. Okay? 88% of Americans eat meat, flesh and blood. You don't know where it's coming from, but you're eating it. Like when you go to the doctors, you trust the doctor. He writes a prescription in Latin. If you don't speak Latin, you don't know what it says. He takes it to the pharmacist. That's his friend. He fills it up, whether he knows him or not. They're working together. And he fills it, and you take whatever's on the prescription, but you know nothing about it. So why can't you trust your fellow brothers and sisters whom you know nothing about and say, you know what? I am going to buy back black. And if what I want, I don't see black, I'm going to help the people who have the stores, who have the businesses, to get that business. If it's technology and digital we want, open that business. If it's air travel, open a travel agency. Open a black airline. Whatever it is, we have the power to do it if we stop buying the foods that are contaminating us. How can we persuade them to stop forcing vaccinations on us that have been proven and tested year after year to kill, not just maim and cause autism, but to kill our babies? And still people are not up in the air about it. What is it going to take to make Americans wake up and recognize that we have to change? We have to change our entire value system. From today, what can you do? Find a cause, find a school that is about to close, that's doing wonderful things, and keep it open. Right in D.C. is the Ujima School. You can find school, Brother Zulu. The school's almost 50 years old. Dr. Karanga, who created Kwanzaa, is going to be the guest speaker there in May. They've done everything to close that school, and that school has remained open. And they have children there, 13 and 14 years old, who are scholars in science, in physics, in math. And they're going on to major colleges at 13, 14, 15 years old.
So one of the things that you can also do, tied to that point, is support young people who are going into education. Support young people who have an aspiration for math and science programs. Put young people in the position to be able to support and sustain themselves by, as we talked about in the beginning of the show, educating them at home. So you can start at home by making sure that people don't just take what they see on television, but they go do the homework. So first and foremost, I want to encourage you, when you see these stories come out, you saw the story come out about Trump, you saw the story come out about H&M, then start to go do the research. Research the company.
Right.
Find out where they're landed, where they're located. Find out if they're tied to the prison industrial complex. Find out what countries they actually manufacture their products in. Find out how they're treating the people, where they're making the stores, where they're making their clothes. Do the homework. Don't just take what you see. You know, Trump talks about fake news all the time. Don't just take what you see on television or the internet and you run with that story and you share it and you press it. When people send me things with missing children, which I appreciate, people being vigilant about finding children and making people aware, the question I ask is, did you do any research to find out if the child's already been found? You know, did you look into it? When you do see these posts and you get this information, do the homework. All right. So that's number one. Do the homework and the research. Speaking of homework and the research, we got to keep it moving because Funky Friday's about to funk it on down. And we got some pieces to share with you. Tomorrow morning, real quick, we've got the East Coast Jam session coming in town, the basketball tournament. Mel George was here on the show talking about, that's why we got basketball here so you can see, doing a big MLK tournament, young people from all over the East Coast from 12 o'clock to 8 p.m. at Archbishop Carroll High School. Come on out and support these young people and see some of the best basketball in the country right here in the DMV.
And you have to tell them where Archbishop Carroll High School is.
It's in the District of Columbia.
Okay, everybody get over there.
That's right.
Everybody get over. We'll be there.
That's right. So in addition to that, on Monday, we had the MLK 4th Annual City of Annapolis Parade. And we will be there live broadcasting from Annapolis, Maryland, down at the City Dock, 100 Main Street, in front of your buddy, classmate, Steve Samaras.
Oh, yeah.
Zachary Jewelers. We'll be right there. So come on down, support the program, the parade, the concert. As a matter of fact, Craig Dobson, one of Annapolis' own now, a national recording artist, will be performing that on that day along with Remnant on stage as part of the parade and concert. So come on out to the 4th Annual. Your buddy Mayor Gavin Buckley will be leading the parade along with the aldermen and the other folks who've been deemed as Grand Marshals. So thanks so much for coming out and supporting that. Also, the good sister Delegate Cheryl Glenn is holding a hearing, a joint session at the state legislature at 2 p.m. on medical cannabis and the licenses. Currently, there are 20 licenses issued in the state of Maryland. Out of the 20, none of them are African-American companies. All right? The significance in that, it's $1 billion industry. You just talked about your food and growing your food. People are going to be using medical cannabis. You want to be able to have a stake in who's doing it, where they're selling it, where they're growing it. What are they selling? What are they putting in it? Mm-hmm. How can you test it? All of those things so that you know what, again, and you have access to. That's why it's important to teach your children that chemistry and science and physics are important so you can do your own testing. You can do your own building and developing and creating. And on that note, I'm going to shift to holistic sexual healing and family lifestyles with the queen, if you know what I mean.
I'm all about making marijuana legal so that we can get our brothers and sisters who have been incarcerated for years for a joint, 2 joints, a nickel bag, a 20-cent bag, a $1 bag, a pound of weed, have been held illegally for years. It's time to let us out. And the only way we're going to do that is show up at these hearings in huge numbers. Protest the amount of people making millions and billions of dollars already in Colorado, California, on cannabis, and yet black people and poor whites are still in jail on cannabis charges. And to this day, still being arrested. Something like the federal government is still fighting the state government, fighting the local government. Get it together, people. It's our government. We have the final say. Let's get busy this year. 2018, let's get real busy.
2018, let's get busy. That's why we got the sweat. Hey, look, you see we came in today, sweatsuit up.
Yeah, and I want to hurry up and talk about exercise for love.
Come on now.
Last week I talked about the sounds you make. All these sounds are songs, and they are fitting the part of the body that needs nourishment, that needs massaging. Whether it is the liver, the kidney, the gallbladder, the duodenum, the sciatic nerve, the heart, the lung, the sound of your voice. How can you know? Get this book. Get this book. You've got to have African Holistic Health Book by Dr. Layla O. Africa. You get this book. He has 6 series. Get all of them. And I'm telling you, if you read this book once, not even if, you read this book with yourself, your family, your mate, your friends, it will become a household book. It will become a lesson. You can't lend it out. They're not going to bring it back. Don't lend your book out. They're going to take it, I'm telling you. They're going to take it because the book is so good. It's going to tell you about masturbation, oral sex. It's going to tell you about fish, butter, ice cream, you better scream, peanut butter, fried foods. It's going to tell you about meat, flesh and blood, what's going on, how the shrimp eats the whatever, and you eat the whatever that the shrimp ate, and then you get whatever. Got it? There's a big disease right now, bacteria in oysters, live oysters. Learn. Darius is key when he says, do your research. So I'm recommending today, you want to have healthy sex, healthy love life, healthy relationships as friends, partners, to the end. regardless of whom or what, get this book and learn how to fast. Learn how to go at least 1 day, 2 days a week with no food. You greedy things. Stop eating everything you see all up at night. Cookies and candies underneath the cupboard. Don't want anybody to go in your nightstand. Why? Marshmallows. You are roasting pigs.
Hey, marshmallows.
Marshmallows are made from pork.
Ooh.
When you roast marshmallows, you're roasting pigs. Now, how about that? So, I'm telling you, get it together. 2018 gets stricter than ever. The water's poison, the food is poison, the air is poison.
That's Herbert M.
Go
Shelton.
on a fast.
Fasting can save your life and save you money.
Yes.
And bring you a great joy in the home because you can cook with your significant other. Y'all can love
Come
up.
on.
Y'all can hug and kiss
Love
while
up.
you can hug and kiss
Love up.
while you're cutting and slicing and dicing your
And don't
foods.
forget to hold your breath. That's right. It's over. The show's over. Last minute, hold your breath. Everybody, learn to hold your breath. If you can, go to Grand Cayman Island. Start learning how to scuba dive. Get your own scuba diving gear. Go every year, 2-3 times a year. Take your family. Learn to scuba dive. Learn to ride a horse. Be a very good horse rider. Learn how to care for a horse. Learn how to ski, even in the dark. Learn how to do things you never dreamed you could do. Learn how to do them and get self-defense because you're going to need it. And now, hold your breath. Let all the air out. Take it in with your nose.
Sexercises, exercises for love. Holistic sexual healing and family lifestyles. Live right here on the Peace in the Morning Show. Get it up, get it moving. Go deep, get it grooving. Peace in the morning. Holistic sexual healing and family lifestyles. Fasting. Woo! All right, is that high or what? Yeah, she's pumped up now, right? You see what he did to her?
Yeah, it
So
makes you happy and
that
high
energy,
and
that
energetic.
oxygen, bringing all of that oxygen
Oh,
into the
get
system.
the oxygen to
take
the
it to the
brain.
blood, to the brain,
Yes.
to the heart, and then your body goes to a whole nother level.
You feel so good, and that's what you need to be a good lover. You need a lot of oxygen so you can breathe. Go down and hold your breath. It's over.
That's right. So check it out. We want you to focus. We got a lot of great things happening this coming Saturday. We want you to come on out, support East Coast Jam Session basketball from 12 o'clock in the afternoon, Archbishop Carroll High School in Washington, D.C., right off of New Hampshire Avenue. In addition to that, the MLK dinner tonight, LaFontaine Blue in Glen Burnie, Maryland. On Sunday evening, they will actually have a celebration. Good friend Jimmy Powell's doing a celebration in the name of Dr. King over at the Peerless Friends Club. And then on Monday, 12 noon, the kickoff, 4th annual MLK parade. The Queen, myself will be there, happy to be the chair of the committee. Thank you for all those who put your time, energy. Craig Dobson will be singing. Remnant Band will be performing also for the concert for the MLK. Following that, we'll be convening groups of men. Brothers, come on out. 1 o'clock, 100 Main Street. And then we're going up to Teddy's.
Brothers, come on out.
We're going up to the Main Street State House and going to the hearing, State of Maryland legislative joint hearing on medical cannabis.
Joint hearing on joint. Joint hearing on joint. Come on.
That's right. Hey, listen, Dr. King graduated 16 years old. Remember, it starts at home. Our show today started with a speech from Dr. King. How long, not long? How long will it take us to get our young people educated and on the right track? Not long. We have some brothers that right now, the Memphis school system has decided to take a different approach, which is educating young African-American students. They are bringing in a group, and they brought in a group of educators principal, vice principal, African-American males that are able to model and encourage what academics and success looks like. So we want to thank the Memphis school system for understanding the significance and making sure we have an opportunity to put models in front of our young people that will encourage them to be strong academically, to become scholars, not only in the traditional paths, but also in jobs and careers that build the infrastructure for our nation. So on that note, we are very encouraged, really excited to be able to move and do all these things this weekend. That's why we got the sweatsuit on, because we got to run, we got to hustle, we got to do it, we got to make it. You know, we like the show, we like the Bobo on the Peace in the Morning Show.
Happy.
That's right. Hey,
Get
love
the
yourself
book.
some more.
Get the book. Get
Peace in the morning.
Get the book. Get the book. Get the book.
People like me and you who know the way true is love and unity to all of God's children. You've been breathing.
Go to the place and one shot. It's gonna be but a little go. We gonna give you some info so we can reach it in and out, in and out, in and out.